It's that time of the week again, time for another aviation news recap video, where I always cover developments here on the channel that did not get their own video. It's a great place to get all your latest aviation news. There's coverage on United Airlines, the Boeing 777X, and much more in today's video, so sit back, relax, buckle in, grab a snack, and enjoy the show. If you'd like to see more aviation content, I thought I'd put a little disclaimer here that I do have a second channel titled DJ's Transport, where you can get airline, aircraft, and more analysis alongside some train videos. Beginning off the bat though with United Airlines. The airline has announced through a press release that it is planning on launching a historic non-stop service between Washington DC and Cape Town. The developments come following an application filed to the US Department of Transportation. Initially, it will be a 3 times weekly service, once approved, but also crucially, if it is approved, it will see United become the first airline to fly non-stop services between Washington DC and South Africa's legislative capital of Cape Town. It's a groundbreaking move and a very important route for both parties. It will expand the airline's route network and will also see many people reap the rewards, especially in the South African aviation sector, alongside people who want to fly on both services. If approved, the service would begin later this year, towards the back end, specifically on the 17th of November 2022, and the US-based carrier would operate the 7879 Dreamliner, one of the more popular aircraft choices for their future operations in the fleet at the moment, and this is something that is being felt widely across the industry. The 7879 is quickly becoming one of the statement aircraft when it comes to long-haul operations in any corner of the globe. The Senior Vice President of International Network and Alliances at United Airlines said, "From creating new jobs to supporting key civic and aid organizations, United has taken tremendous pride in growing our family and operations in South Africa and across the African continent. If awarded by the DOT, this historic non-stop service will significantly enhance travel options for consumers, strengthen ties between our country's legislative and diplomatic epicenters, and benefit thriving travel and tourism industries serving our respective countries." The airline believes that in addition to the route launch, which has definitely amassed quite the fanfare, the ultimate benefit will be thanks to their South African partner airline. With a hub in Cape Town, it means those headed to South Africa will be easily able to connect to an Airlink service to visit your smaller and more rural destinations easier than ever before as part of the global expansion. What are your thoughts on the expansion announced by United Airlines down to Cape Town from a flight originating in Washington, DC? You can let me know down in the comments. Now though, on to Singapore Airlines, who are indeed the feature of the following 2 developments in this update video. First, the airline has announced that it's ultimately seeing demand spike, thankfully, as Singapore eases travel restrictions and makes it easier for people to fly in and out of the location. It said it was pleased to reveal that slowly but surely, they're edging closer towards 2019 levels of bookings, a pleasing sight for the upcoming summer season, with more people choosing to head to Singapore than in recent years, you could say. Many people in the past deferred their travel due to tight restrictions or more demanding entry requirements. In addition, with it being closely located to places like Australia and other countries within Asia that did remain largely closed, it remained a location that was generally isolated and not viewed, say, as a place by choice to visit, but that's now changed, thankfully. They also reported a load factor of some 43% in the past 6 months. This is actually up from the 17% they experienced for the first 6 months of the most recent fiscal year that stretched from 2021 to early 2022. However, last month in April, they actually saw their load factor increase significantly, reaching close to 80%, which is, of course, not quite at the levels they want, but a massive, massive increase, and shows that for Singapore Airlines, all signs are pointing in the right direction. And once again, it can be proved that with the easing of restrictions, more people do choose to fly. And like many other airlines, they have no problem welcoming people back to the skies. If it's easy to fly, people will do so, whether it's for holidays, to finally be reunited with loved ones, or for other reasons. People want to get on board these aircraft and these airlines and see the world. Now, more than ever, you could argue, after so many years away. mandatory testing being removed made it easier for people to jump on board a Singapore Airlines service and visit the country. In addition, it therefore resulted in the airline being able to launch more services, get the Airbus A380 back in the skies, and generally return to key destinations that it had been missing from for some time. Regarding the future outlook, while they're hopeful that with the further easing of restrictions in countries around the world, they'll continue to see their load factors jump from 80% in the future. In addition, the airline is forecasting cargo demand to experience near-term volatility. This comes not just due to the effects of the pandemic, but also the problems within China, and of course the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Sticking now with Singapore Airlines onto the final story of today, but shifting focus more towards the 777X, which as we know is an aircraft that recently welcomed further delays to the program and will now see an entry into service in 2025 rather than the estimated early 2024 and of course our initial mid-2020 date. As a result of these delays announced and confirmed by Boeing, several customers have expressed their dissatisfaction with the lack of transparency and delays surrounding the widebody, which is incredibly important for several airlines' future fleets, as you can imagine. The 777X is by no stretch of the imagination a small aircraft. However, now Singapore Airlines joins Lufthansa as being another airline that has backed Boeing, essentially over the delay, and notes that as an airline on a whole, they will not see significant repercussions from the delayed entry into service for this new 777X. Singapore Airlines, however, noted that they're betting on other aircraft to help them cope with the delays, and this is one thing the carrier is lucky enough to have. Other aircraft, similar to Lufthansa, it does mean they have a way to cope with delays to the 777X. Ideally, of course, though, the airline would have wanted to welcome the type into its operations on time, that being mid-2020, and in saying that, ideally the pandemic would have also never arrived, and therefore Singapore Airlines could be absolutely thriving now. But as we know, you can't have everything your way, and the aviation industry does throw its curveballs. It's about hitting those out of the park in the best way possible. All of these things, though, did impact Singapore Airlines, and has resulted in a lot of change. It's, for me personally, I don't know about you, intriguing to hear airlines' stance on a lot of these matters, of course, with executives voicing their displeasure, and others noting that they can cope. However, the underlying note that can be taken from all of this, in my opinion, is each airline is dealing with the delays differently, with a lot having to do with their current business operation and room to extend the retirement of, say, a specific aircraft and remain profitable even with this decision, even if it may not be ideal. Lufthansa recently announced the expansion on their 787 order, meaning they will be getting further 787s, many noting this order could have come with quite the hefty discount. That's going to conclude today's aviation news recap. If you have any thoughts on the stories covered, whether that be United Airlines or, of course, the two feature stories, if you will, on Singapore Airlines, you can leave them down below in the comments. Do subscribe to the channel if you are new to see much more content on the aviation industry daily. But until the next video, like I'll always say to you, do take care, please stay safe as well, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video.